8:33 already. All right, I think we have everybody situated and ready to go. I will ask Michael to start with our roll call.
Week's Earth Day series of environmental news reports comes from Flowers for Dreams, a mission-driven local flower service offering fresh, handcrafted spring bouquets from their Walker's Point outpost.
Someone
Peonies,
can
tulips,
make sure everybody's on
plants,
mute,
and more,
please?
with hand delivery to all of Milwaukee. Every bouquet.
Thank you. Okay, Michael, if we can start again, that'd be great.
Alderman Bob Bauman.
Here.
It's morning edition.
Mr. Joel Brennan. Mr. Grady Crosby.
Here.
Senator Alberta Darling. Mr. Mark Flaherty.
Here.
Representative Kaylin Haywood.
Here.
Alderman Cavalier Johnson. Senator Latanya Johnson.
Here.
Mr. James Cantor.
Here.
Mr. Scott Mansky.
Here.
Mr. Greg Marcus.
Here.
Mayor Dennis McBride.
Here.
Ms. Joanne Sabir.
Here.
Representative Joe Sanfilippo. Ms. Aicha Sawa.
Here.
Mr. Omar Sheikh.
Here.
Alderwoman Jocasta Zamarifa. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. The first order of business is the discussion and approval of the February meeting minutes from our February board meeting. Can I have a motion to approve? Move it. Ready? Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, Johnson.
Thank you. Second. All in favor of approval of the meeting minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Meeting minutes are approved from February. Next order of business will be a discussion with Marty and Peggy and the team, respective teams, I should say, on Visit Milwaukee and an update on that. Thank you,
So
sir.
can I just ask a question quick?
Yes.
I am only seeing a Visit Milwaukee logo. I am not seeing the conference room at all.
Check here. You should be able to change your view mode in the top right corner to gallery.
Yeah, I have it on gallery and all I'm seeing is the Visit Milwaukee logo.
Yeah, same for me.
Same for me.
1 second. Nothing changed for you? On the Zoom call, you should still be able to see grid view. We're seeing grid view on two separate computers.
All I'm seeing is Michael Dixon and it says a picture of the new center and Visit Milwaukee.
You're in the app or do you guys want to troubleshoot this or?
You can continue. So.
Yeah, it's just that we can't see the conference room.
Yep.
So, okay. What about now?
Oh, now we can.
Okay, so on this view, so go into the stream is the grid view, but for whatever reason, you're only seeing one image from me. I will be switching back and forth between iMag and graphics. Will that suffice?
Is everybody?
What are you seeing now?
I am seeing Visit Milwaukee again.
The left-hand side.
Now I see. Now I see.
Right.
Now I see the chairman.
Okay.
Perfect. He sees Chairman that camera view. Okay?
Perfect.
But
Thank you.
is there a presentation as part of this that?
When they give their presentation, you'll be able to switch
Yeah.
it back? Yeah.
Right. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Scott.
That is why for so many months, we just did a phone call, so we did not have to deal with the potential additional technical challenges. But thank you, Mike Dixon. Back on March 26th, Visit Milwaukee gave a presentation to the senior leadership of the Wisconsin Center District, sharing with us the role that they play as the marketeers and selling agent for not just the Wisconsin Center District, but also for Milwaukee and the southeastern region of the state. I've asked Peggy Williams, the president and CEO of Visit Milwaukee, along with members of her staff, to join us today so that they can share with you their perspective of the state of the union, if you will, of meetings and convention business, and share with us their plan for the marketing of not just the convention center, but the region for the balance of 21 and taking us into 2022. So Peggy, turn the floor over to you.
My name is Peggy Williams-Smith, and I've had the privilege of working closely with Marty and his team at the Wisconsin Center District for the last year and a half. I'm sure that you're somewhat familiar with my team and what we do from a macro level. After all, we have been operating as a destination marketing organization for over 5 decades, and we have been strategic partners with the Wisconsin Center District since its inception. Visit Milwaukee is a community asset, and we are responsible for the marketing, selling, and the creating of programs that promote our region as an attractive travel destination, which in turn enhances our public image as a dynamic place to live, to work, and to play. Through the impact of travel, Visit Milwaukee strengthens Milwaukee's economic position and vitality, which provides opportunities for all of the citizens in our region. We're skilled at engaging audiences, which consists of planners, leisure travelers, and the media, to illustrate the best of the city and provide unmatched insight about our destination. Our local expertise, combined with our client relationships, are something that only a tourism organization that has been doing the work for decades can bring to the table. Unlike a marketing agency, our only job is to sell the greater Milwaukee area. Destination organizations are unexpected critical resources during a crisis. During the pandemic, we often served as a source of credible information for visitors, meeting planners, and residents. We helped our community this past year through blood drives, mask giveaways, and housing coordination for the most vulnerable populations. And as we begin to approach recovery, we are primed to be the first to encourage visitors to return faster to our region. These visitors will generate tax revenues necessary for rebuilding our local economy. We know that our #1 priority in the short term is to book hotel rooms, starting with leisure, moving into meetings and conventions, and that's important for the future success of our region. Sold hotel rooms provide the room tax that is vitally important for the Wisconsin Center District, Visit Milwaukee, the city, the county, and the state. And we also know that to have a successful tourism economy, we must have a strong community. And both Visit and the WCD know that, and we work together to ensure that we can tell all of the good stories in our region that help us to promote our destination. We have worked closely over the last year with Marty and his team to position Milwaukee as a must-see destination as we recover from the pandemic. Our team is excited because we know that their team is experienced obsessed when it comes to pulling off bold events, and that makes our job of selling the convention center and the city exponentially easier. Before I introduce you to the team here today, I wanted to share our full leadership team who work in lockstep with their WCD counterparts. Today you will briefly hear from our leaders in sales and marketing. First, you will hear from Megan Sardini, our Chief Marketing Officer, who will give you an overview of the current traveler sentiment and a sneak peek at our meeting and convention campaign. And then Leslie Johnson, our Vice President of Sales, will let you know what business looks like for the remainder of 2021 and what we can expect to see from meetings and conventions in future years.
Good morning. When the pandemic first hit the United States last year, it took the travel industry to a halt. Although travel data is showing a full recovery might not happen until 2023 or 2024, we are seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Longwoods International has been issuing weekly studies, and the most recent study shows that 88% of Americans are planning to travel in the next 6 months, and a quarter of those are planning to travel in the next 3 to 5 months over the summer. Travel continues to prioritize in 2021 road trips, and 32% of people are choosing to drive to a destination near their homes, and this is fantastic news for Milwaukee because 1/3 of the US population is actually in a 6-hour driving distance of us. Reports continue to show that it is important for a destination to show its commitment to COVID safety to attract visitors. 60% of people are planning to travel to destinations with clear safety protocol. Looking more closely at the pandemic's impact on the meeting industry, Professional Convention Management Association, or better known to some of you in the room as PCMA, have findings from a recent March study that found that the majority of planners, actually 64%, are planning an in-person event in 2021. Suppliers also seem to be shifting, with 46% of them designing in-person experiences in a post-COVID world, and that's even up from 39% last month. As in-person meetings resume, 24% of planners do anticipate smaller attendance on site, while also still offering a hybrid solution for a larger group to participate virtually. 47% of planners do feel that smaller local regional events will thrive before we get back to more larger national and international group gatherings. This bodes incredibly well for the Wisconsin Center District and the meetings industry recovery in general. Not only will the convention expansion that you approved allow us to have multiple groups simultaneously in the building, but with the GBAC certification that you received, as well as the infrastructure investment already made in CTI's virtual meeting room, as well as just the building's overall technology, this will put Milwaukee at the forefront, offering planners an easy solution to host hybrid events in our city. With the Wisconsin Center District hosting junior volleyball tournaments through the month of March and youth sports being the absolute first event to bring attendees back to this building since the pandemic, we know it's incredibly important for our team to keep a close eye on the sports event industry recovery. US youth amateur sports market did actually better than expected despite the pandemic. Youth sports events are predicted to return at a quicker pace, with 40% of sport event organizers saying that recovery will happen in the next year, and actually the majority feel it's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years. So now I want to shift gears and talk about our new advertising campaign. Visit Milwaukee, working in close collaboration with the Wisconsin Center District team, is excited to launch this month our new meetings and convention advertising campaign, Milwaukee, where unique unites. The campaign positions Milwaukee as a bold, modern, and innovative destination that can deliver world-class business experiences to attendees while also highlighting Milwaukee as a community with top-notch amenities. The creative prayers, striking meeting experience images next to city lifestyle shots, while hitting home the facts that we know planners need to just hear to put us in their consideration set. Our media buy is targeted nationally at meeting planners and event organizers, and it has a very niche market focus on going after regional associations, religious, sports, diversity, agriculture, vocational, and hobby groups. The goal of this campaign is to generate long lead convention bookings for 2022 and beyond. A secondary strategy that is running this year simultaneously with the campaign is reassuring our customers that hosting events in Milwaukee, that we're taking the pandemic seriously, and we've put rigorous health and safety protocols into place. As part of this effort, we recently launched our new safety video. Visit Milwaukee has always operated under a smaller budget than our peer cities. And we work extremely hard to make sure that every dollar we have is stretched to make sure that we remain competitive. The pandemic has been devastating. There's no question about that. But we continue to be resilient and passionate, knowing that the work that we do has such a large impact on the Wisconsin Center District, on our local economy, on our hotels, and small businesses. Even with our budget being cut in half, Visit Milwaukee is committed to increasing our advertising spend to promote Milwaukee, which is actually up 34% over our total paid advertising budget in 2019, a good year. Paid advertising actually represents 25% of our company's total operating budget, and we've increased the meetings and convention advertising portion, which is up 56% over 2019 numbers. We can do this in part by allocating 100% of the $500,000 that we received from the state with the Travel Cares grant specifically to paid advertising. Now I'd like to bring Leslie up to talk about sales.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. As you know, 2021 was off to a rougher start than we hoped it would be back in 2020. As of today, we have over 75,000 room nights still coming into the city of Milwaukee that have been contracted through the Visit Milwaukee team. These meetings and sporting events will bring over $61 million in economic impact. To put that into context, in 2019, our meetings and sporting events brought $175 million in economic impact. We are, however, starting to see some encouraging signs when it comes to the meetings and conventions industry. Lead volume for the city has continually climbed month over month since the start of 2021. Since January, the Visit Milwaukee team has sourced 80 new leads to our hotel partners for over 145,000 room nights. These leads consist of groups that are interested in coming into Milwaukee in 2021, as well as reaching out to 2026. Keep in mind, these 80 leads do not include the meetings and conventions we are continuing to work to reschedule their contracted 2020 or 21 dates in Milwaukee. And although 2021 is light, the team has been able to secure nearly 11,000 room nights in the year for the year. My team, along with the WCD, has been playing a game of Tetris since the beginning of the pandemic to do all we can to rebook as many groups as possible into future years. I wish I could say that we are done playing this game, but we must be realistic that we still are uncertain at what the remainder of 2021 will look like. We are, however, starting to see planners' interest growing in securing future years in new destinations as they have now gone virtual, canceled, or rescheduled their 2020 or 21 meetings in destinations where they were scheduled to take place. As Megan suggested, the industry experts, such as tourism economics, are suggesting hotel occupancy may not return to the 2019 levels until 23 or 24. With this in mind, and with collaboration with Megan Setman with the WCD, we have given the Visit Milwaukee sales team a very targeted goals that are reflective to what the industry experts are saying. Historically, the Visit sales team has been tasked with an overarching room night goal that was to be booked by the team within the calendar year for any future date without strategic thought as to what years those room nights were being placed. Moving forward, the Visit sales team members will be given specific room night goals for each future year through 2026 to ensure we are focusing on closing the gap on need periods in years where we may be falling behind pace. Our ultimate goal is to outpace what industry experts are predicting for recovery. The Visit Milwaukee and WCD teams remain focused and steadfast to bring meetings and conventions and sporting events back to Milwaukee. To that end, we have launched a new arm of Visit Milwaukee called Sports Milwaukee. As mentioned, sports will return at a much faster pace than meetings and conventions. Therefore, we are now strategically positioned this Milwaukee region as a sporting destination. We know the convention center space and hotels are vitally important to gain planners' attention to consider hosting their events in Milwaukee. So thank you for approving the expansion of our convention center. Other topics that have become equally important in recent months to planners is how city leaders support tourism within the destination. We know each one of you are passionate advocates of our local tourism ecosystem because of your seat on this board. And some of you also serve on our Visit Milwaukee board, and we are extremely thankful for that. Planners also want to know how we are addressing such topics to our response to the pandemic, social justice, and diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion. They are also looking at city's infrastructure and, most importantly, safety. We are thankful for our city leaders for their focus on making these items a city priority. Our team is focused on ensuring we are at the table when discussing these issues and communicating our actions to our meeting planners in a bi-weekly basis through our email communications. Our goal at Visit Milwaukee is to become one of the top 50 meetings and conventions destinations in the United States. While looking at the data as what planners find most important in a destination, in addition to what I've already mentioned, they're also looking at destination attractiveness, and we have that down pat. You will receive a packet today, and in that packet will include our 2020 County Star Report. This is a measure of the county's hotel performance year over year. You will also be receiving a current convention calendar for the remainder of 2021, as well as our strategy plan for our newly launched Sports Milwaukee. Again, we know our time here with you is brief, but we are available to meet with you individually to talk about our role in our community, and of course, discuss any conventions you are interested in bringing to our city.
You all heard that last sales pitch, right? She's willing to talk to you if you have any conventions you want to bring to the city. Thank you again for your time today. I hope this gives you some insight as to what Visit Milwaukee does and how we are moving into this uphill battle that we face as we move into recovery. Rest assured, our team is ready, and we don't take for granted the over 400 million reasons why we need to be in the top 50 cities for meetings and conventions. Directors, thank you for your support of tourism and the jobs and the economic impact it creates. And Marty and team, thank you for your collaboration and continued support.
Great, thank you, Peggy. Any questions for the team at all, or?
Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah. So, have you guys looked into what is the impact? You know, I think that the thinking is that international travel is going to be really, and you would think that would because I don't think that our proportion of international travel compares to some of the major cities. But as those cities lose international travel and they look to fill space, how competitive do we think that's going to be? Have you factored that in? I guess is my question.
Well, we think about these things all the time, believe me. Right now, I think that 2 of the conventions we still have booked for 2021 had some international travel coming in, just to answer that question. And we've already addressed that they won't be having their international travel. So we know that those conventions will be a little smaller than they had originally anticipated. Right now, I think what we're banking on is that the larger cities, which do attract the majority of the international travel, are still big cities. And they're still really crowded, whereas where we stand apart is that we have all of the amenities of a really large city and none of the overcrowding that might still scare some people as we come out of the pandemic.
Does that help, Greg?
Well, I like that answer.
All right, if there aren't any other questions, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
And I guess my question really goes to the WCD leadership. As I understand it, the Visit Milwaukee contract was extended for 1 year. It will expire at the end of this year, December 31, 2021. And exactly what is the process going to be to evaluate whether that contract should be extended or not? Are we going to be looking at alternative models for such marketing and sales activities? Are we going to be putting out an RFP to solicit interest, or even a request for qualifications to solicit interest from other possible entities that may be interested in performing this service? Because I get the reason for this presentation, and that's fine. This is all good information. Although I have to say the chart that was displayed showing the comparative staff sizes and budget sizes between Milwaukee and other cities was not particularly informative, because I don't know what those other entities do. It's possible Charlotte, which appeared to be at the top of the list in terms of budget and staff, may perform many, many additional functions that Visit Milwaukee does not now perform, but perhaps they should perform. So that comparative analysis of budgets and staff sizes is, to me, very uninformative, because it's not an apples to apples comparison. So I'm just wondering, how are we going to go about this process? Or is the expectation of management to just submit Visit Milwaukee with no process, no alternatives, as a long-term renewal and have an up or down vote? I'm just trying to get a handle. We're now 9 months away from the expiration of that contract, and I would like to know what the process is going to be to renew that contract, please.
Bob, this is Marty. I'll take that question and respond. For the past 3 months, I restate that, going back to November of 2020, we've been having very in-depth regular meetings that Visit Milwaukee to assess the expectations from each side and how the relationship has developed over the past several years and where we see it going. Specifically, charging Visit to address the manner in which we choose to be involved in their business. There has been significant changes to the better in how our two organizations are collaborating and working towards the future. There is not the expectation, however, that as we sit here today, it's a foregone conclusion that Visit Milwaukee's contract will be presented to the board without any further process. My expectation, Bob, is to come to the board next month, no later than next month, with our plan, a recommendation of steps we expect to take after consultation with the board chair, and share that with you in greater detail than I'm prepared to today.
Okay, that's fine, because I don't purport to be an expert in the structure of such marketing arrangements or what is performed by such entities in other cities. But I'd sure like to know a little more before making an informed decision, because as I've stated on the record many times before, you know, my 20 years now, my 17 years now on the Common Council, and really, you know, almost 30 years of professional life in this city, I have to say I've been underwhelmed by Visit Milwaukee, especially in the context of the amount of money that they receive, much of it taxpayer money in the form of our tax receipts. So I think there has to be a very high level of scrutiny here, but it's difficult, at least for me, to make informed judgments when I'm not particularly aware of the scope, character, and dimensions of this industry. I'm not sure what alternatives do exist. Maybe none. Maybe this is the best we can do, or the best anybody can do. I hope not, but that may be the case. And if that's at the end of the day, the conclusion is, well, this is the best we can do, this is the best value we can get. Okay, fine. At least we've gone through the process. But I'm fearful there's going to be no process. We're going to get some nice speeches and nice presentations. So we'll wait for next month and we'll see what the process is going to be, and we can comment further at that point. So
Yeah,
thank you.
Bob, I think you're right. I think it's fair to assess everything and look at process and actually get a full understanding of what everyone involved does, including Visit, and get you an informed and the rest of the board an informed criteria on that, as far as also on the other peer groups that we have out there and other peer sets. So, yeah, Peggy, go ahead.
Yeah, and
real
I
quickly.
encourage
We want
you-
to also move on too, but go ahead. Yep.
I encourage you, there'll be a packet that everyone gets. There's a, I think, 25-page white paper that explains in detail, in depth, exactly what it is that Visit Milwaukee does and provides to the city in terms of travel and tourism and how we market and sell the city as well.
Bob, thank you for that, and I hope the work product that we've delivered to the board over the past 3 years will validate the fact that we're not looking to just deal with the best. We're looking to be the best, and there are certainly options we can explore, but I assure you, we're not looking to settle with this is the best we can do.
Okay, good, thank you. Good, Peggy, again, thank you to you and the team. Really appreciate the work and efforts, especially during this, the pandemic, and keeping everybody out there, and I think we're set up for a fantastic second half of the year with all the work that everyone's done together. Next, Steve Marsh, our CFO, for our financial update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. Today's financial update will include a final review of the 2020 income statement, look at the 2021 statement forecast, and a review of the projected restricted and unrestricted cash position for the remainder of 2021, which are expected to remain relatively healthy and stable throughout the year. So let's start with the 2020 income statement, which is the 6th page of your board packet today. It has column IDs E, F, G, and H at the top. This exhibit provides a comparison of the final actual unaudited year-end results for our 2020 budget. Scrolling down to line 67 in column E, you'll see net income before depreciation was budgeted at $21 million. Our actual year-end result was a $9.3 million loss. which is noted in column F. This produced a negative variance to budget of $30 million, noted in column G. 12 months ago, I'm not sure I would have thought it possible for our organization to overcome a $30 million negative variance on our income statement. Quite frankly, I think it would have meant financial ruin for the district. However, as we sit here today, we've proven quite the opposite. We certainly suffer financial challenges, just as so many other businesses have during this pandemic, and we still have work to do. But in the early weeks of the pandemic, management developed and executed a two-pronged survival program that included, number one, an operational expense mitigation plan, and number two, a capital restructuring plan that in combination positioned us to weather the worst of the COVID storm. And while survival was certainly a sufficient and acceptable goal for 2020, our organization went one step further, doubled down on our own future, and borrowed over $400 million to fund what will become a critically important economic driver for our city and region for years to come. You've heard me and Marty reference BPX often, which is our credo of how we go about doing our business on a day in and day out basis. And in that vein, I can say without pretension that I'm proud of the work and sacrifice that our team has put in over the last year that allowed us as an organization to survive 2020 while simultaneously building for the future. And I'm thankful for the trust that the board has given to management to not only adopt our recommendations, but then having the confidence in us to execute them effectively. 3 years from now, when we open the doors of the expanded convention center for the first time, I think we'll look back at 2020 and say that it was an inflection point for our organization in terms of how we value the present and how we think about and plan for the future. That summary of our 2020 income statement, I think, was a bit dramatic, but I think it does accurately reflect my thoughts regarding 2020 and what that $30 million variance really means to the district's future. Marty, do you have anything to add to that? Okay. So turning to the 7th page of your board packet that has column IDs M, N, O, and P at the top, you'll see a comparison of today's forecast to the forecast we provided to the board at the February board meeting. You'll see not much has changed. On line 67, column O, we're projecting to be up $500,000, largely a result of better than forecasted December tax results, as noted on line 35, column O. But one item to note on this page is naming rights revenue, line 11. For both 2020 and 2021, projected revenue has been reduced by $43,750 as we worked with UWM on revised terms for the current contract year due to the pandemic. Marty, would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Steve brought this up during the finance, personnel, and then the governance committee meetings last week, and there was some attention that was given this by members of the media. Back in October, the university reached out to me to engage in discussion over the force majeure language in their agreement for naming rights, and they were very collegial, but felt that there needed to be, at the very least, a discussion over making some sort of consideration in the monies due us because of the complete cancellation of events in the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Panther Arena. Through those discussions, we talked about how the naming on the building was continued. It got a lot of exposure during the virtual Democratic National Convention, and the signage was still in place and exposed to vehicles and people downtown. We came to an agreement about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, to recognize a 25% reduction in their naming rights fee for contract year, July 1 through June 30 of 2022. The reason why, and that's the reason why the reduction is made in both this fiscal and you'll see later on in next year's fiscal, the 21 fiscal, because we took the 25% reduction and split it out over the course of our 2 fiscal years. So that explains why there's a slight reduction. No further reduction moving forward.
Thank you, Marty. Page 8 provides a final look at the 2020 CapEx budget. Our total expenditures came in about $500,000 less than originally budgeted. Reducing CapEx spend was a part of our expense mitigation strategy that was adopted at the start of the pandemic in order to preserve cash for ongoing operational needs. To that end, we prioritized projects that focused on life safety and security, as well as making smart investments in systems and infrastructure that are critical to the business operation. I'm proud of how our operations and building services and facilities departments have continually responded in the affirmative when asked to do more with less. We perhaps did not invest in everything we would have liked in 2020, but we were able to make smart decisions that set us up for success in 2021 and beyond. The 2020 audit field work is nearly complete. I don't anticipate there to be any material changes to expense or revenue line items at this time. Just a reminder that Baker Tilly will be here at the May board meeting to provide the final 2020 audit report. Are there any questions on the 2020 income statement or capital expenditure summary? Okay. As for 2021, if you page to the 11th page of your board packet with column IDs M, N, O, and P at the top, you'll see, excuse me, you'll see we've made some positive adjustments of forecast relative to the last forecast we presented, increasing it by just over 1.19 million. As noted on line 67, largely a result of extending the contract term of the COVID-19 vaccine clinic event. Previously, we had forecasted the event to conclude at the beginning of May. It's now scheduled to conclude the first week of June. While the forecasts today are minor, the adjustments, that is, we're optimistic that over the course of the next few board meetings, we'll continue to increase the net income forecast based on positive discussions with meeting and event planners and more certainty regarding our event calendar holds. And Marty's going to touch on this a little bit during his CEO update in just a minute. Moving on to the cash flow projection exhibits, you'll see on the next page that unrestricted cash is projected to end the year at approximately $7.1 million, noted on line 25. And on the following page thereafter, restricted cash is expected to end the year up $3.39 million, as noted on line 19. Management is satisfied with the projections of both of these balances and has no concerns regarding the district's ability to meet its debt or operational obligations over the next 12 months. But before we conclude the update today, I do need to qualify my comments regarding the 2021 financials. On Wednesday, the district became aware of a bill passed by the State Assembly that provides for a sales tax holiday for the months of June, July, and August of 2021. If this bill becomes law, the district would not collect any food and beverage tax revenue for those 3 months, which the district currently projects to be approximately $2.7 million and is included in the income statement forecasts and cash projections we just reviewed. As the board is aware, food and beverage tax revenues are a restricted revenue source for the district and are used solely for the purpose of funding debt service. The potential impact of this bill is material in terms of the district's long-term financial strategy. While it's unlikely to affect our ability to meet debt service payments in 2021, it will reduce our projected reserve balances going forward and potentially make the district more vulnerable to economic downturns. It's unclear to us at this time how the rating agencies may interpret this action and its impact on future bond ratings of the district's debt. This time, the district is unaware of a companion bill in the Senate. However, it's a risk the district will continue to monitor and update the board on as we become aware of more information. Marty, is there anything you'd like to add on that?
No, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, that is the financial update today.
Great, thank you, Steve. Are there any questions? Yes?
Yeah, what was that number again for the sales tax?
The potential food and beverage tax revenue that could be foregone in June, July, and August has an impact to the district of $2.7 million.
And that's our projection for what it would be. That's our budget number.
Our budget. Yep. Mark?
How does that help the?
My understanding is a tax holiday, right?
Tax holiday, yes.
That's right, a tax holiday, so.
So it would impact the consumer would not have.
I see. Senator Darling, do you have?
Yes, I don't want to get everybody overly enthusiastic, but I think at this point it's highly unlikely that it will pass, because while we are trying to compensate as much as we can for the pandemic, there wasn't a great deal of support in the recent past for that holiday, but that could change.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. I think drawing awareness. think, right? Just from our pure financial situations. All Steve's doing. Any other questions for Steve on the financials? Great. Thank you, Steve. All right, Marty, our CEO update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get into my prepared text, a couple off-script comments. I'd like to acknowledge and thank Vice Chair Grady Crosby for stepping into the very large shoes of James Cantor, who was out last week, and Grady did a yeoman's job of chairing both committee meetings, so I thank you for that, and your ability to be available and the leadership you showed in those meetings. Secondly, I'd also like to thank all of you who have elected to come today in person. It's nice to see people being comfortable meeting in person again, and also very selfishly, it's also nice that we have board members coming in person that we're able to provide breakfast for them that we're able to partake in. Thank you for allowing us breakfast. Thank you. As far as
that's been sorely missed.
so you have not had a breakfast in a year because of okay. You look in good shape, but you don't look underfed there. Anyway, back to script. In going over with Steve the financials for this year, and then working very closely with Megan Setman, sales, I'm very encouraged by the number of meetings, special events, and entertainment event and inquiries that we've been receiving through us directly and also through Visit Milwaukee since the occupancy capacity was increased by the City Health Department to 75%, up to 750 people without an approved safety. We are approved to go above 750 on certain events based upon the safety plans that we have submitted to the Health Department, and they have. Once again, just kudos. I've said this before. The Health Department has been very prompt responding to the submission of our request, which enables us to get back to promoters that, yes, we can accommodate their event, and allows them to make a decision in a very timely manner. So that's working out well. But more than being encouraged by the number of inquiries we're getting is how even more encouraged I am by the number of new and unbudgeted events in 21 that we're seeing coming into the facility. Going back to March and earlier this month, when we were able to, because of the capacity restrictions being lifted, have very successful weekends of volleyball in the Wisconsin Center and dance competitions in the Miller High Life Theater. Some of the other events that we confirmed for later this year that were not budgeted are the Windy City Junior National Basketball Classic in April. The number of high school and college graduations in both the arena and theater have increased beyond what we had anticipated. We have, at least for the first time, from my knowledge, Bob Seafeld may be able to add some color at another point for this, but we have a 2,500 baptism scheduled for the Panther Arena in June. I'm sorry, that's in May. Anybody's scheduled up. We've added Midwest Haunt Convention in June to the convention center, and you're asking what the Haunt Convention is. I've had experience with this group in that I dealt with them in St. Louis for their national convention, and it is, in this case, a regional convention that we'll be hosting for those exhibitors and production companies that do haunted houses, so with special effects and makeup, and it's a really neat convention. And certainly when they come here for the regional convention, we will be all over them, try and bring the national convention to Milwaukee. 2 weeks ago, we announced, and last week we went on sale with residency exhibition called Beyond Van Gogh. It will be up in Hall A starting in July, running through August, with the opportunity to get additional dates should the success of that show continue. We've sold, as of last night, over 24,000 tickets to that event in a week, which is very encouraging. It is a timed event, 1 hour, 250 people per session, where people will be in restricted pods, but it's a totally sensory immersion into the artwork of Vincent van Gogh, and should really be a terrific exhibition, and would love for you to come see it when it opens up in July. And then another show that we've added has not been announced, but we have added a home and garden show into the convention center in August. As Steve mentioned, the vaccination program has been extended extended through June, beginning of June. I would like to acknowledge both Megan Setman and Tom Nicholson. We've taken a situation where we're certainly looking to host something that's good for the public, but we've also been able to do something that wasn't budgeted to help us put people to work and generate some revenue for our organization. They have been servicing this client, not taking anything for granted, because initially it was the city of Milwaukee, and now we're dealing with FEMA. They've just done a yo-person job in making sure that we have accommodated every request, anticipated requests, and through their efforts and from the efforts of Tom Nicholson's event management staff, really service this client. I appreciate your efforts in growing that business, because it's a great statement to other clients of how we can support them when they come in here. As far as the vaccinations, it is now open without appointment, so we encourage you to share with your staffs and people you know that if anyone is looking for the vaccine, they can come to the Wisconsin Center without a reservation. It's open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Any of you in attendance today that have not been vaccinated and would like to get vaccinated right after this meeting, Tom Nicholson, could you stand and just wave? Tom's been the point person operationally. We can take you downstairs and put you in an express lane to get you vaccinated if you'd like to today. If not, and for those of you not physically in the room today, you can reach out to Michael Maxwell or myself. We can put you in touch with Tom and schedule a time for you to come down and expedite you through the process. But certainly in our business, getting everyone vaccinated is front of mind all the time for us. So we're happy to be able to work with the health department and make those vaccines available to anyone who would like one. Mike Abrams from CAA Icon will be up in a moment to give his perspective and some information regarding the expansion, but a couple things I would like to just share with you. Later this morning, probably in about 11 minutes or so, we're going to be issuing a press release that our expansion website, buildingmore.com, will serve as the official source for information to vendors regarding RFPs for the expansion. Interested organizations will be able to register their information on this site and use it to direct specific questions. The vendor portion of the buildingmore.com website will be monitored and administered by our construction management team of Gilbane C.D. Smith. 3 weeks ago, Mike Abrams from Icon and Mike Tate, who works with us, presented an overview of the expansion over the course of 3 sessions to city, state, and county elected officials. I presented the same deck to the Commercial Real Estate Association yesterday, and will be presenting an overview of the expansion to the Rotary Club in May and the Bid 21 board in July. If you have any groups that would be interested in seeing the deck and just learning about what the expansion is and its impact on the city, please contact me. I'd be happy to either do something in person or virtually based upon what their needs are. At next month's board meeting, we are going to have a member of the design team here. We are at the next stage of renderings. I've previewed some renderings of the interior, which is the first time I saw them on Wednesday of this week. We want to share them with the group so you can see them and get a sense of what we're looking to have the facility look like, not just on the outside as you've seen, but now on the inside. And then lastly, you may remember that last September, shortly after the DNC, we furloughed 30 people, implementing a 20% pay reduction to this group, reduced pay by 10% to 9 people with no reduction in work hours, laid off 19 staff, and eliminated completely 8 positions. Yesterday, I issued a communication to the district staff informing them that based upon the increased confirmed event activity that is picking up in May in all 3 venues, effective Sunday, April 25th, everyone currently on furlough will resume their 5-day-a-week work schedule, thereby rescinding the 20% pay reduction. Those whose work hours were not reduced but took the pay reduction will also have their pay reduction eliminated as of April 25th. Select positions currently laid off would be contacted by their supervisor and recalled back to work. We will also begin recruiting for those open positions necessary to support the upcoming and ongoing business. We had budgeted, going back to September, October of last year, and we're optimistic that we would be able to implement this change or revert back to status quo in March of this year. Based upon what we knew in March, we did not feel comfortable that the event activity warranted at that point making this modification to furloughs and laid off personnel. given the increase in event activity that we have for the rest of the year, we need to make this change to support the business that we know we have, and therefore, that's why I made the communication yesterday. That's it, Mr. Chairman. If there are any questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Any questions for Marty? Anyone on the phone? Good. All right, Marty, thank you. Next, Mike, give us an update on how our expansion is coming along.
Hey, good morning. Mike Abrams with CA Icon. It's good to see everybody again this morning. As Marty mentioned, design has progressed. There's going to be some pretty pictures and slideshow for next month's board meeting. Today, I just want to briefly give some updates on the expansion project. We are still currently in our pre-construction phase. We will be throughout the balance of 2021 as we continue through our different design phases. Our focus obviously has been on the design, the continued detailing of the interior and exterior of the building, the furnishings of the building, and the remodel of the south building. We are starting to focus on budgeting, updates on budgeting for the project here in the next couple of weeks, and we continue the process of hiring professional service companies and consultants. Our schematic design documents, our drawings and plans were delivered on March 24th. We started our next phase, which is the design development phase, which will further define the scope, specifications. This will continue out through the balance of the summer and be complete around middle of August. We have 2 milestone budgeting updates for the project coming up. One in early May on the schematic drawing. So here in the next couple of weeks, we'll have some revised and updated budget numbers, and also mid-September on the design development phase. This is before we get into the final construction documents, which will obviously be put out to bid later this year in a couple of different bid packages. That'll occur in late quarter 4 of 2021. So the focus really has been on the balance for us right now in the last couple of weeks on the balance of our RFPs. Just some other milestone schedule dates coming up. The site demolition plans for the project are coming out earlier than expected, and we are targeting a May 10th early demo package. Through conversations with the district and what's really in the best interest of the district, working around some of their scheduled events, we are targeting a middle of July demolition package for the parking lot. So we're going to strip the parking lot, take out the old slab, which was left from the previous building, and remove some of the grade beam foundation walls, some of the pile caps, and do a final as-built survey on the existing foundation piles that were left remaining underneath the building. So I think that's a critical first step in doing some due diligence for the project. So you will see some construction fencing targeted for probably early July. So it'll start looking like a construction site here in the middle of the summer a little bit. We have about 6 or 7 weeks of that process, and then through the as-builting process, we'll get that information back to the design team, and then late quarter 4 or early quarter 1 of 2022 is when we'll do the official groundbreaking on the project. Like I said, 2 other bid packages which will come up later in the year, one for concrete and steel, which are targeted for an October release date, and then we will target the vertical transportation, the enclosure package, and the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing packages towards the end of the year, looking at like a mid-December release date. Progress on site in the last month or so, we completed our final soil boring and environmental boring work. The final report did come out the last couple of days. So we have that out to the structural engineering and civil engineering teams, and we're reviewing that right now. We did some routine pre-construction work, doing some test holes out in the parking lot about 3 weeks ago. We're just trying to verify a couple of critical existing foundation points and locating an old utility tunnel that ran underneath the old building. We also did some standard seismic testing a few weeks ago, just confirming our seismic classifications. An update on the RFPs for the project, our structural engineering peer review RFP, which is going to be looking at loading and vibration, our long span, structural elements, and our seismic classifications. We received those responses back on April 6th. We are very close to recommending a firm for that, to onboard them very soon. Art consultants, we received responses back on April 8th, and we're currently working through those proposals. Parking operator, this will be the operator for the parking structure that's being designed within the new expansion. We are targeting onboarding them very early in the process because they've got a lot of design input and operational input that's critical for the design team in order to finalize construction documents. So that parking operator proposal has been sent out. We are scheduled to receive those proposals on April 22nd. Building commissioning firm. This is critical. Is a critical component as we're targeting our Silver LEED certification. So there's a requirement to onboard a commissioning agent early in the process before the end of our design document phase this summer. So we have that RFP targeted to be sent out this Monday, April 19th. And then our, we believe might be our final RFP for the time being, kind of looking at a holistic campus security consultant that'll look at various portions of the campus, entry points, perimeter security. That target RFP is, we're targeting April 26th, so a week from Monday. A quick update on inclusion for the project. As a reminder, the goals for the project is a combined 31%. That's a combination of MBE, WBE, and DVBE, Disabled Veteran BE firms. Early reporting from cross management, our inclusion firm has indicated we're currently at 32%. Okay, so we're just above the goal for now. We have we have very early and a low amount of contracting numbers compared to what will be the overall contracting number. So it is very early in the process. This takes into consideration all the design firms and consultant firms that we have on board now. The bulk of the reporting will really be when the construction trades, contracting trades are being hired later this year and into 2022. So that is good news from an inclusion standpoint. As I said, the construction inclusion firms will be later this year. So we do have some outreach events that are targeted here in the next couple of months, and those are on our calendar so far. And what that is a targeted outreach virtual event that's monitored or led by our construction manager, Gilbane Smith, with some of the other supporting firms on the call that will go through critical upcoming dates for bidding opportunities for the trade. So it's everybody that's going to be registered on the website as far as firms that want to sign up and solicit bids. And there'll also be some other targeted firms that'll be part of that as well. So May 4th is our first informational session. That's really going to be geared towards this early site work package. And then a couple weeks later, on the 20th of May, we have our second informational session relating to the site work that will be happening in the summer. And then later in July, on July 20th, we have a program information session that will give them, prospective bidders, a glimpse into what's upcoming when the contract documents are released later in the year. And then a final one later in July on the 27th, have a final informational session. There might be a few more sprinkled out through the early fall as well. So we're trying to build momentum right now amongst the trade partners. There's a lot of good energy and buzz out there with the subcontractor community. So looking forward to that. And that concludes my update for this month. If anybody has any questions, we'll be happy to
So I
field
have a
those.
question.
Yeah.
So the question that I have is for the inclusion, within the contracting, are you requiring the contractor to partner with someone as far as to achieve the percentage, or do you have goals within the contract? So do you know ahead of time? So in other words, do you know ahead of time who the contractor will be that they will partner with? Or do you just have an expectation of them that they will meet those goals?
That's a good question. First of all, we do have an expectation that they will meet those goals, or the construction group as a whole will meet that goal for the project. As they receive the proposals back and the bids back from the subcontractor community, the proposing subcontractor and trades will be stipulating within their bid forms who, if any, their inclusion trades partners will be at that time. And so that is part of the final evaluation. CAICON is part of that process as far as the evaluation with Gilbane Smith. We do go through that whole evaluation process with them. So yes, we will have knowledge of that during our evaluation process.
So I guess the other question then is, within the total amount of the contracts, will there be either an audit or a firm that will be reviewing to ensure that what somebody states as the goal has been met?
Yes, we have cross management and also PRISM on board for that evaluation process. We're part of those updates as well. There is a check and balance process through the invoicing process as well. We track the trade partners' invoices through their trade partner as well. So we have, it's not just the sub-trades telling us that they're partnering up. We do have confirmation, and it's really through the invoicing process that we confirm that these firms are being in fact hired, partnered, and being paid as part of the project.
Do you have a means within your system that if somebody wants to report an issue, that they can contact somebody independently if they believe that there is an issue with the contracting or, with the inclusion?
I'm not sure if there's a official process in place for that. Actually, honestly, never have ran through that. Marty, I don't know if you have any response to that either.
I think it would be helpful, Scott, either to follow up with us offline if there's some specific concern that you have, or process. Happy to sit down and talk to you. That's part of why we brought Cross and PRISM on a year ago, so that they could work with us and help us establish what the inclusion program should be. And part of their responsibility is to monitored both the bidding process, the awarding process, and then the execution process. They are tracking hours as part of their responsibility. So we have a third party, an outside party, tracking the awarding of contracts and how those are being distributed to our 25, 5, and 1. But I'm not really clear on what your specific.
Yeah, I'll have a separate conversation with you.
I think this one would be best handled offline. I do know we have some people that have some hard stops at 10, and we do have a vote that we need to get to as well. So for additional questions, Mike, I'm assuming that you're open and ready for anything anybody has, and we'll continue to address this as we move forward.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mike. With that, the board may convene in closed session pursuant to S19.851C to consider the employment compensation or performance evaluation of certain WCD employees over which the WCD board has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The board is expected to reconvene in open session following this agenda item. I would like to entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Move closed session.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All right, all in favor of moving to closed session, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. We will now move to closed session. Please wait a moment or two while we clear the room. Thank you. order of business to vote on. We'll entertain a motion for approval of the employment agreement and that was in your packets and sent to all of us for Marty Brooks for a 3-year contract.
Chairman, I'll move approval.
Second.
Thank you, Haywood. All in favor of approval of the employment agreement for Marty Brooks, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, motion carries. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. With that, Michael, future board meeting dates, has anything changed?
Not at all.
Nothing has changed, so we can move forward. And see, Mark, I told you we'd get you out of here by 10. So. Any future board items for discussion? If you have that, please bring that up now. If not, you can always send that over to myself, Marty, or Michael, and we'll make sure that we put those into there. And we do have the audit report, I think, Steve, next month in May, is that right?
That's correct.
Right, so that will be the one item, and make sure that we're all in attendance for that. That's always very important for us to go through. Thank you for that. With that,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, with regard to future items for discussion, would suggest that in light of Scott's questions, when we're receiving the report from Mike, yeah, real good questions. You know, perhaps, Marty, maybe we have PRISM, one of those, the other groups, to come in and really talk about 10 to 15 minutes deep dive into how we are making sure that we're meeting those goals, how they're laid out, and what are some of the safety nets around that as well.
Sure. So we currently, I saw yesterday a first pass of how we've done year to date, and I think we're 32%.
Right.
But we can not only share the numbers, but also the methodology and the checks and balances we have in place. I'll arrange that to happen.
I think that'd be good.
Sure.
That's a great idea, Grady. Right,
No problem.
I think that'll clear up anything. And Scott, you had some great questions, so we appreciate that, and just make sure everything's on the table. Anything else? With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move it.
Second.
Great, thank you, Representative Haywood. And all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you for a great meeting, and the meeting is adjourned. We'll see you in May. Have a great weekend.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.